What I love so much about Lebanese cuisine is that it's so vegan friendly. Thus, I'm doing a Lebanese meal prep for you guys today because you asked for it and asking you shall receive. I'm so excited to show you guys some of my favorite Lebanese style recipes that I have been working on. It's gonna be a good time. And as always, I have prepared a shopping list for you guys so you guys can see all the different ingredients we'll be using for this meal prep. And I'll also provide you an order of prep just so that you guys can kind of get through this meal prep as quickly and as efficiently as possible. We're gonna be covering proteins. We're gonna be doing some one-pot main course meals, some sauces and condiments, and a nice crunchy salad. It's gonna be a good time and I cannot wait. So let's get right into this plant-based Lebanese meal prep. All right, the first recipe we're going to be making together today is a classic Lebanese spiced lentil and rice dish called Mujadara, and it is a one-pot wonder. One of the main flavor bombs of this recipe comes from these melt-in-your-mouth caramelized cumin spiced onions, as if caramelized onions on their own weren't delicious enough. Sprinkle in some cumin seeds and 10 out of 10. This recipe traditionally is like 5 main ingredients plus the usual suspects like spices, oil, broth, or water. You know the drill. What is awesome about Mujadara is that it's really high in protein from all the lentils that are in this recipe. So it's absolutely hearty enough to be a main course, but you can also enjoy it just as a side dish with any of the other wonderful recipes we'll be taking care of later today. So without further ado, let's get into prepping our first ingredients. The first step of this recipe is to do the caramelized cumin spiced onions. Now, when I'm making caramelized onions, I typically like them to be sliced very thin. I'm not really into dicing my onions, but I suppose that's really up to you if you have a particular preference. And of course, you could absolutely slice your onions in a food processor, as I typically do, but you know, today I'm just not in a rush, so I'm just gonna do it the good old-fashioned way. There we go, beautiful. Let's take this party over to the stove. So now what you're gonna do is take a large, heavy-bottomed skillet or saucepan like this. I'm just using my always pan, and we're just gonna heat up about like a tablespoon and a half of olive oil, or you can use another neutral flavored oil like sunflower seed or grapeseed. Okay, so what I have here, this is 2 tablespoons of cumin seeds. We're gonna kind of toast these up in the olive oil just for like a minute. You can almost immediately smell those seeds. Oh my gosh, yum. Now we can go right ahead and add in our sliced onions. Sizzle, baby, sizzle. And a generous pinch of kosher salt. Keep the heat at about medium-low. Break apart all of the onions if they're kind of clumped up together. Put a lid on the onions as they cook, and we're just going to pretty much slowly cook our onions for about 20 minutes, stirring them every few minutes just to prevent them from burning. Add a little splash of water here and there if you do notice that there's some brown bits on the bottom. Scrape them off the bottom of the pan just to release all that good flavor, hence caramelized onions. So good. Now, in the meantime, we have a few more garlic cloves and 1 more onion to chop up. These ones are gonna cook directly with the rice once those onions are finished caramelizing in the pan, so we can take care of these steps now, maximizing our time. Brilliant. So while we're still waiting for the onions, let's go ahead and rinse out our 1.5 cups of brown lentils. Alrighty then, this is our 20-minute check-in on our caramelized onions, and they are looking golden and gorgeous and gosh darn beautiful. So I'd say those are about as caramelized as I would like them. So we're just going to transfer them over to a plate so they can cool and we can get on to using this pan for the next steps of the recipe. All right, moving right along, we're back at the stove using the same pan. Gonna warm up another about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. Let that heat up until it's nice and shimmery. All right, let's get this remaining onion sauteing in the pan that we chopped up a little while ago until it's nice and soft, about 5 minutes or so. Now we can add our garlic cloves that we minced up, 4 cloves of garlic to be exact. followed by this vast cornucopia of fantastic spices. We've got cinnamon, ginger, allspice, coriander, and cumin. Just incredible. Add those in. We're gonna give everything a good little tossy. We just wanna toast the spices for like 1 minute. Brilliant. Now you can go ahead and add your 1.5 cups of rinsed brown or green lentils, a couple bay leaves just for, you know, flavor. Then we're gonna add in some water, or you can use broth, but honestly water is fine. We're gonna add 5.5 cups of water to be exact. Give it all a nice gentle stir. Get any of those spices that might be stuck on the bottom of the pan. And we're basically just going to bring this up to a boil. We're gonna cover it with a lid, cover it nice and tight. And then once it's boiling, we will turn it down to like a simmer, like 3-ish on the heat scale, and let the lentils cook for about 12 minutes. We're not fully cooking them at this point. We still have to add the rice a little bit later on, but the lentils do generally take longer to cook than the rice, so that's why we do it this way. So since we have some time to spare while the lentils cook for the mujadara, I figure let's get started by preparing some of the ingredients for our second recipe, which is called Lebanese moussaka, also known as Maghmour. We're gonna start by peeling and chopping these, and also doing the same thing with our onion and garlic. Now, I make no claims on being an expert in how to prepare an eggplant. It's actually one of my least favorite vegetables, to be honest, but this dish will honestly convert eggplant haters into eggplant lovers. So what you do is you just chop off the top, and what we don't want is all of the skin, but apparently it's best to leave some of it. So a common peeling technique for eggplant is to do like a zebra stripe. So leave a little bit down, like a little bit of the skin kind of in between peels. This apparently just helps to add a little bit of extra flavor, but it also helps the eggplant to retain its shape, which I thought was pretty interesting. So just do the zebra stripe peel, so it looks something like that. That wasn't so hard. So we're gonna chop these into like 1-inch thick rounds. And then again, just into basically 1-inch thick cubes. That's what we're going for. Thick and chunky. Beautiful. Quick pause. We're gonna jump back over to the stove and add our remaining ingredients to our mujadara. Yum yum. All right, it's been 12 minutes since our lentils have been cooking in this delicious spicy broth. Now we can just go ahead and add our 1 cup of rinsed basmati rice and a cup of dark raisins. Very luscious. Okay. Cover it with the lid again. We're gonna let this cook for another 15 minutes or so until the rice cooks up and it's nice and fluffy. Now we're gonna add a fairly generous amount of olive oil, probably about 2 tablespoons. And we're just gonna give the eggplant a good toss, as good as I can toss it without making an absolute mess. Oh, I'm already doing it. Turns out it's actually easier to just do this on a baking tray. No problemo. Add a little bit of oil, give them a little tossy, and they're pretty much ready to go in the oven. Okay, people, we've got our mujadara almost finished cooking on the stove. We've got our eggplants in the oven for our Lebanese moussaka. Let's continue on with the moussaka. We've got some ingredients here that you can prep now. Crack open a can of diced tomatoes, 2 cans of chickpeas, chop up your onion and garlic, and get some spices prepared. We've got some cinnamon, allspice, salt, and pepper. Super simple, but super spicy and savory and yum. And get a couple tablespoons of tomato paste. Now, honestly, this is probably more. This is more like 3 tablespoons, but that's fine. Gorgeous, darling. Now let's take this party back over to the stove. Alrighty, so the eggplants are about halfway through roasting, so we're gonna heat up a big, heavy-bottomed saucepan or skillet, something that has a little bit of depth to it, or you could use a pot, either or. And we're gonna warm up some olive oil, as we do in this meal prep, or another neutral oil. We're gonna do about 1.5 tablespoons until it's nice and shimmery. Once that oil is nice and hot, what are we gonna do? We're gonna do what we do best around here. We're gonna saute that onion. Oh baby. Give her about 5 minutes. She's looking beautiful. Next, we're gonna add in some tomato paste. If you're wondering why it's in a square shape, it's because I had frozen them previously so that I didn't waste. We're gonna add those 5 cloves of chopped garlic. That's right, you heard me. 5 whole cloves, baby, I don't mess around. Then we're gonna add our spices, salt and pepper, allspice, and cinnamon. What a great combination, can I just say? Give it all a good stir. As we do, we're gonna let those spices toast. You guys know the drill by now. All right, it's been a minute. We're gonna add our 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes with 2 tablespoons of coconut sugar. This is just to help balance out the acidity of the tomatoes, the salt, and the spices. And then we're gonna add about 1/2 cup of water. Get those spices incorporated. Spices Incorporated. Feels like a good name for like a company. All right, we're gonna just bring this up to a boil. We're gonna cover it, let it do its thing for about 10 to 15 minutes. Let's come back to our Mujadara. Yum, yum. It's been finished cooking now for about 10 minutes. Let's check her out. Ooh, yum. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the bay leaves. I'll eventually find the other one. And remember these? Remember those delicious cumin spiced caramelized onions we made? We're gonna add 1/2 of them to our rice and lentils. So now we can go ahead and mix together those onions into the dish. Does that not look hearty AF? Like, I just want to eat that. Oh. And we'll just let the Mujadara cool for a while. Same with the onions, which are actually already cooled enough. And then once you're ready to serve your Mujadara, you can just serve it up with some of these extra caramelized onions and go to town. Yay, 1 recipe fully done. Okay, perfect timing. Our eggplants just finished roasting up in the oven, so let's check on them, see how they did. Ooh, they're nice and fork tender. I can stab my fork all the way through. They are not mush, but they are also not as firm as they used to be, which is what we want. Let's check on our moussaka. Ooh, that is steamy. Alrighty, so she's been doing her thing for like 15 minutes, allowing all those, oh my gosh, amazing flavors to meld together. So now we can add our canned chickpeas. By the way, this is about 3.5 cups of chickpeas. And now we can add in our roasted eggplant. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure that I'm actually gonna be able to fit all this in here. That's okay, we're gonna fit in as much as we can, and any leftover I can just use as a side dish just to have some extra cooked veggie on hand, but we'll see what we can fit. Maybe I can get it all. Okay, that's like most of it, a little bit extra. Then we're gonna add about a tablespoon of lemon juice. This is just going to add a little bit of brightness, a little bit of zesty zippiness. That'll work really nicely with all of the ingredients here. Now let's just give that a little tossy. Oh, and don't forget to add another about 1/2 cup of water or so. You may not be able to smell what I'm smelling. In fact, of course you can't, but I will just say that this is, wow, it's divine. Like, absolutely insanely good smelling. Okay, we're gonna keep it at a simmer. We're gonna cover it. We're gonna let it continue to cook for about 10 more minutes or so, just until the eggplant is totally soft. You kind of want it to almost melt into the sauce here. It's gonna be If you could just smell the smells that I'm smelling, your smeller would just explode. I cannot wait any longer. I absolutely must try this Lebanese moussaka. It smells ridiculous. Ridiculous. Oh wow. That has literally everything. It's tangy from the tomatoes and the lemon juice. It has just the perfect amount of sweetness from the caramelized onions and the coconut sugar. And it is so deeply savory with all those spices. Oh my God. You guys, this is an absolute banger. Like, in the words of William Hung, she bangs, she bangs. Woohoo! That is so good. You know what they say when you feel awful? Just eat a falafel. Sorry. Show myself out. We are moving on to what I am most excited for in this meal prep, but also most nervous for. We're making falafels, no surprise there, because it's a Lebanese, essential. You gotta have the falafel if you're gonna do a Lebanese meal prep. But as you may recall, I epically failed and flailed last time I attempted falafel. Alas, our failures are what make us stronger, better humans. So we are gonna be making a really quick, easy falafel recipe. Grab yourself a food processor, a couple cans of chickpeas, and all these ingredients that you're about to see, and let's get falafeling. Okay, so grab yourself some fresh parsley and cilantro, some red onion, a little bit of lemon, some fresh garlic, some breadcrumbs, chickpea flour, some spices and flaxseed, and some canned chickpeas. We're gonna start by first taking 3 large cloves of garlic, popping them in your food processor, and pulsing them up until they're as fine as you are. Wahoo! Add about 1/3 cup of chopped red onion, plus 1/3 cup each of fresh cilantro and fresh parsley. Blitz all this a few times until it is finely chopped. Oh my Lord, that is strong. Now we're gonna add about 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and our 2.5 cups of canned chickpeas. And then we're just going to process this chickpea mixture until it forms a nice coarse dough and holds well together when it's pressed between your fingers. Okay, we have set aside the dough for just a moment. Grab yourself a nice large bowl, and we're just gonna quickly mix together our last ingredient. So I have 1/4 cup of gluten-free breadcrumbs, 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon each of cumin, coriander, salt, and red chili flakes. Now just give that all a good whiskey, not the kind you drink. And now you can go ahead and add in the dough that we just made in the food processor. Now we're just gonna grab a handy dandy little spatula, and we're pretty much just going to work those dry ingredients into the dough manually. There we go, that is just gorgeous, darling. Now let's roll them up into falafel balls, and I'm even gonna show you a handy little hack for you guys to get them to be extra crispy. But before I do, thou shalt preheat their oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get some more of those gluten-free breadcrumbs, about 3 tablespoons, put them in a little bowl, and then grab yourself a little cookie scoop. This is like, 1.5 to 2 tablespoons-ish, I'm assuming. And we're just going to roll out nice, tightly compacted, heaping scoops. Roll them into little balls. Ooh, and those are holding their shape so nicely. Ta-da! Beautiful. We're just going to roll them around in the breadcrumbs. And we're basically just going to repeat this process until all of the dough has been used up. So simple. Ta-da! What we're gonna do next is we're just going to gently press them down with our hands. We don't wanna completely flatten them, but just a little bit, you see? They're like not as tall as these ones. And lastly, just to give them a little bit of color as they cook, we want them to brown nicely, we're just going to really lightly, add a tiny bit of oil, just a little spritz. All right, now that our oven's preheated, we can go ahead, pop them in, and bake them for about 40 minutes. Bye-bye. It would not be Lebanese meal prep if we didn't do hummus. And now there's like 1,016 ways to make hummus. The way I'm gonna show you how to do it today is very easy. Chickpeas, garlic, tahini, lemon juice, salt, and cumin. Like, it does not get more basic than that, but sometimes basic is delicious, and I guess I'm just a basic bee. So let's get into it. Grab yourself a food processor and let's get whipping. Well, 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 we meet again, food processor. Now, add your 2 cloves of garlic and your chickpeas. I'm using like 2 cups of cooked chickpeas. I mean, they're technically canned, but yeah. 2 cups, please. Then we're gonna add 4 tablespoons of very drippy tahini, plus the juice of 1 lemon, which is about 3, I'd say actually 4 tablespoons. Half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Oops, half of that ended up on my counter. And about 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. Now just put a lid on her and start blending on high speed. Now, a very neato trick that I learned is that if you want super creamy hummus, add a few ice cubes as it blends, kind of right as it's starting to get creamy, like so. Now is a good time to add your ice cubes. Well, gosh darn golly, I think that ice cube hack actually is pretty legit. This is probably among the smoothest, fluffiest, creamiest hummuses I think I have ever made. But does it taste good? I'll find out for you. Ooh, damn! It is good. It is very good. Another very successful recipe done. Okay, this here is a massive cabbage, if you didn't guess. And we are going to be using this to make our last recipe of the meal prep. It's, what the f? My Siri thought I just said, this year is a massive cabbage. It really is, isn't it? Siri, stop interrupting me. Moving right along from that most rude interruption from Siri. We're gonna use this here cabbage, half of it at least, to make our last recipe of this Lebanese meal prep. It is a very crunchy, herbaceous, tangy cabbage salad. Let's get cracking on this Malfouf salad. So we're first gonna start by making this tangy, lemony garlic dressing for our cabbage salad. So first, grab yourself a lemon and we're gonna remove the zest from this lemon using a microplane. And we're also going to squeeze out the juice of this full lemon. Mince up your garlic and grab yourself a bullet blender or a little food processor. And then once you have all of those ingredients prepared, we're just going to add them all to our bullet blender one by one. So we're going to start with our lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, all of that lemon zest, the minced garlic, about 1/3 cup of silken tofu. We're just using this to replace about the same amount of oil, so it's helping to just kind of lighten up the dressing a bit. And then we're going to add in half a teaspoon of kosher salt, a teaspoon of sumac, and about a teaspoon of coconut sugar. And now we blend. Okay, shall we do a taste test quickly? Whoa! Ooh, that is so bright. Creamy and dreamy and oh so steamy. And now all that's left to do is prepare this beautiful cornucopia of veggies. We're just gonna very thinly slice up our green cabbage. Remember, we're just using half of it. Mince up our parsley, some cilantro, about half a cup's worth of Roma tomatoes. We're gonna dice those up. And we're just going to finely mince up 2 green onions. Ta-da! Okay, all of our chopped veggies. Now all that's left to do is pour in this lovely little creamy dressing that we prepared a few minutes ago. And now we just give this a good tossy-tossy. Ooh, it already sounds crunchy. Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Seriously, you guys? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And I mean it, there's a lot of lemon in here. It's crunchy. That is bright and tangy and zippy and has such good texture. Also, quick falafel appreciation moment. These are all done now and they are very, very nice looking, you guys. They turned out really nice and golden brown. They're very crispy on the outside. I feel like this deserves a taste test, obviously. Great crispy texture on the outside, nice and moist on the inside, great variety of spices, a little bit of heat from those red chili flakes. These are so great. This should give you roughly enough food for about 4 days for about 2 people. So I think that's pretty excellent if you ask me. Enjoy. I hope you guys make some of these recipes. If you do, let me know. And if you're not already, subscribe and like this video. And I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye-bye. Doing my falafel happy dance. I could never feel awful when eating a falafel.